Hello and welcome to this video. I'm going to do another ICC auto pairing. I'll join the 5-minute pool and I get paired up right away. Um, I'll play a King's Indian type setup. He's playing a London system type thing. So, play knight b7. I want to get in the c5 advance. Maybe I'll even play it a little bit. I'll insert a6, seeing if he'll allow this, and then I'll fink out of the bishop. So at this point, I'm going to play for c5, which I'm going to play right now. And I think this setup should be fairly good for me. How to continue from here? Let's put a rook on the c file. Alright. Queen e6. Okay, well, gotta watch out for my knight getting trapped at this point. Maybe retreating to e8 was a better option, but no. I felt like something went wrong here in the opening. I felt that I had a good setup with b5 and c5, but something happened. I'm not sure now what I'm gonna do. Yeah, because g4 is coming. You have to make a really unpleasant move. Bishop back here. That I'm making that because I can't think of anything else quickly, but that's obviously not a fun move to have to make. Yeah. He's got this push on the cards now. So I'm going to go ahead and retreat the knight right away. The knight's not doing anything wonderful on a5 anyway, so I'll match his rook here. I'm really low on time. I've been trying to work on commentating while trying to keep my time control, or control my time. It hasn't been going so well so far, but these are still my earliest videos, so hopefully I'll improve at this particular skill. Okay, now I feel like I should move here. Simply because one of his knights is going to want to jump to that square. So that's unfortunate. I didn't really take into account that move. Which I definitely should have. That's not great. I have to move e6 now, basically. That's a must. He's got to watch out for this fork. In fact, maybe I could have done that right away. He sees it and moves out of it. So that's too bad. Maybe I could have done that fork right away. But But I don't think him taking this pawn would have been worth it after c5, queen takes f5, or c4, queen takes f5. I don't think that's worth it. Move here. The idea was to go here, c5, and try to jump into this spot here. So, despite the fact that I kind of foolishly didn't take this into account, I think after knight d3, so he trades it off. He sacks the exchange. That might be a good decision in this case. That knight is very powerful. I want to support.
Time warning.
I want to take here because okay, he might have been able to play bishop h6 actually. I'm going to return the exchange sack so that if bishop h6 I can take here, which I will do. Yeah, I needed to respond to that bishop h6 threat. I might as well just step out of the pen at this point. And if takes, I will take there. So I think this passed pawn should be strong for me at this point.
Time warning. Check. Check. Check.
I should be able to do this and
check. Check. Check.
Alright, good game. So that was a interesting game. I want to go back to this and see how I could have played the opening better, because I felt like I had a good setup at this point right here. He played bishop c4, which I was a little bit, I don't know, I thought it might be dubious. Maybe instead of playing h6 in response to this, I could have just pushed d5 with the tempo on the bishop. So let's see what the computer recommends here. Queen e8, that's an interesting move. I've seen this before because the idea is that you want to prepare this advance, and after, like, the more natural way to prepare it looks like rook e8. But, looks like this fails to a tactical blow here. If takes here, and that's very strong. I have to go here, but then this traps the queen. That's a pretty amazing tactic right there. So that's interesting. It wants to go queen e8 here. Yeah. Push. And you get these exchanges on this square. And then this is kind of like a King's Indian exchange type position. Pretty standard stuff, but this looks like a better version for black here. Because white doesn't have the full King's Indian setup with the pawn on e4. Yeah, so that would have been a good plan to go forth with. Here, I think this should be alright too. Yeah, the computer's saying this is about even. So there, b5 here, and bishop b7. I'm also maybe could have played c5 right away. But either way, I'm up. I have a slight advantage. Black's doing slightly better here. So at this point, this is the point that I was thinking that I would have a pretty solid advantage here. And nothing huge, but also just like a nice position. So I ended up playing rook c8, which is fine. He plays e4. Now, I played queen b6, and that's wrong. It looks like I should really... He's loosening the spot, so I should really strike immediately, activate that rook, and then play e5. Huh. Right. That makes a lot of sense, because it looks like he wins the pawn at first, but this is the typical King's Indian situation where you don't really win the pawn because of the bishop here, and you can take this pawn with a discovery. So he's going to retreat, and then here, this is a pretty comfortable position, this resulting position. So I was just kind of unaware how to deal correctly with this pawn tension in the center. Queen b6 pushes. Now he gets in e5, and the result is that... Ooh. The result is good for me. Let's see why. Because I ended up... What did I end up doing? I ended up hitting the bishop there, which is still maintains a slight advantage for me. But better would have been to move here. Knight e5. Or d5, excuse me. So after bishop retreats, I can take. And after the recapture, I can take here. And then basically the end result, I guess, is that a knight comes to c5. And now I have very active pieces in this position. To play it out a couple more moves here, here. I'm coming down on this bishop on c2. Oops. Yeah, knight here. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm really seeing... I don't see like a concrete evaluation. The computer's putting me in that line at about a pawn and a third advantage. I'm not sure if I see any concrete way to win a specific pawn, but I think it's mostly just that my pieces are very active. So I played this. He retreats. I take there. So I really should take here first. Because I need to activate this rook and also clear this spot for my knight on c5, where it's a very nice piece. So that's really the right way to go about things. I don't do that. So now here, I still have an advantage, but it's not too large. I'm curious here. The computer doesn't see this g4 as a major threat. It wants, well, now it's recommending this, which does deal with g4, but originally it recommended this move. And I'm curious now, g4, what do I do on g4? Let's see this. Okay, takes the knight. Knight takes. And knight takes with the discovery on the queen. So that's a little tactical exchange there. First, kind of, now that the pawn is gone, you can take, open up the queen to that discovery. Okay, so that's a tactical defense there. I just play this move. Now White's the one who has a little bit of an advantage, but he should push a4 or move queen e2. Okay, he does move queen e2, and I retreat the knight, so that's all correct. Now the computer wants me to bring my knight to e6, here, I thought this looked a little awkward, or I'm thinking it looks a little awkward now looking at it, but I guess it's actually kind of a good spot for my knight. My knight's pretty functional in that square. Just kind of develop, put the bishop back here, attack that pawn, move back. There's a lot of shuffling around. I'm not sure the computer really is giving the best analysis in this type of like slow maneuvering position, but it's putting it about even really. So that would have been fine. I moved here, which is also fine. Again, e6. I guess e6 was the spot for my knight. The point being that this is kind of like a far advanced pawn, and I guess the knight in front of that pawn is kind of radiates its power a little bit better than the knight. It's a good blockading piece, in other words. So this is good for white. Yeah, here I just missed that he's dropping this pawn due to the discovery. Takes. The queen can take here, but then I'm just taking here and damaging his pawn structure. Not that my pawn structure is like a work of art over here, but let's just play this out to see where the full advantage is coming from.
check, check,
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, here this seems like it's a good endgame for me because A, his pawn structure on the king side is more fractured. I've managed to repair mine. And B, I have the two bishops and control of the file. So those are three factors that work in my favor, which works out. The computer's giving me about 2 pawns and a half, 2.5 pawns advantage, which is pretty huge for this type of position when material is equal. So just like bishop here, you can defend that pawn, but now I'm going to penetrate to the second rank. So things are just going badly. So that would have been a good point to catch, a good tactical point on this queen d3 move. I move here, which is fine. My king looks very exposed, but there's no great way for him to get at it, really. I missed this tactic, so this is a tactic here, just removing the defender of my queen takes. So now I have to trade this off, and he takes with check. So the end result is he wins a knight. But then I win this knight, then he gets a pawn out of it. His pawns are doubled, so like end result, there's a huge simplification, and he winds up with an extra pawn, although like his pawn structure is kind of crap. But it doesn't, I mean, an extra pawn is an extra pawn. It's good. This is why the computer's only giving him a very mild advantage, like 0.2. But that's better than like me having about a half pawn advantage before that tactic. So he misses that. I miss it too. Here it wants me to do bishop d7 kind of prophylactically, presumably, against any queen checks. I'm going to play knight c5. Now bishop g7. And knight d3. So now it's still giving me about a half pawn advantage. So he sacks the exchange here. The computer doesn't like that, but computers normally have a bit of a bias against material sacrifices. In this case, though, I have to say I agree. Like, there's no particular reason why he needs to take my knight right now. You can always hold it in reserve for later. So now h6, bishop h6 is threatened. So I took this knight, and I said during the game that I thought that he could do bishop h6 actually as an in-between move, and that was the case. But it's actually not. It's not bad for me. Let's look at this here. I still maintain about a pawnish advantage or half a pawn advantage. What I do is this tactic here, this interference tactic, which is, I didn't see this during the game. I didn't calculate it. But after takes, the queen can't take, so the pawn takes, but then the pin is interfered with. So you end up getting back the piece. And after this type of thing, I maintain my half-ish positional advantage, half a pawn-ish positional advantage. So that's an interesting point. He just retakes. Now the computer is giving me a massive advantage, about 4 points, just based on this move, King H8. That's actually fascinating because I think the idea is King H8, Rook G8, and then Bishop moves, winning the Queen. And there's no real convenient way for black to get, or for white to get out of that threat, because his Queen is kind of walled in. I mean, he can move his king, obviously, but it's still a tempo on the queen, and it's kind of an unpleasant position to be in. And I always maintain the right to sack the exchange for the knight and the pawn, again, on d4. So let's look at that, because that's actually really interesting. New variation. So yeah, I come in with this. So the two moves that the computer is waffling between are this, attacking the rook and kind of defending against that threat. 3 moves now. This, kind of getting the king out of that line of fire, like I said. And also it initially recommended a3 with prophylaxis against this b4 move, undermining the defense of the knight. So let's go with king here. Now we do have this b4 move. Bishop hits the rook. And, that's interesting. So this isn't one of those really computery lines, very, like, lots of things hanging at once. Now the rook moves. I can insert this take because rook capture, or capture on the rook is not good, just simply because I can capture on the knight. I'm hitting the bishop, and when the bishop retreats, this is fantastic for me. I have these 2 pawns that are menacing. The rook can come down to support their advance. And also this pawn that's hanging on e5. Yeah, so he can't. So he has to recapture, and then rook comes to g8. Support that bishop. I can take this pawn now, or I can move queen here. Why queen there? I guess in order to take the pawn with the queen. No, probably just to have this queen on this rank. I think that's just a good spot. The 7th rank is a good spot for the queen in this instance. So let's say here, let's just play this out. So he gets this pawn back. But now I'm getting this pawn hitting the queen. The queen's come off. The rook comes here. This just looks like a very good situation for me. So I'm up a straight pawn, but more than that, I have the outside passer and the more active rook on the 7th. So that ends up translating to a winning advantage here. Defend the pawn, just played out a couple more moves, so you can see where this is going. I now have to just reactivate the rooks. It's just a matter of activating these 2 pieces at this point. The rook goes back to the G file. And this rook activates. And finally the bishop activates. And once you've activated all your pieces, this should be a 1 endgame for me. The computer gives a 7-pawn advantage, which is huge. So, going back, that was a long tangent. But in short, that king h8 move, subtle but great move, the computer finds. I return the sack of the exchange, which is obviously gives up a big chunk of my advantage, but doesn't put me. I still maintain a 2-pawn advantage-ish. And here I maintain this move. which is why I sacked the exchange to defend against bishop h6 this way. She misses. Looks like that was just a miss on his part. Yeah, I could have just grabbed this pawn, I suppose. That was the best move. This is fine as well, though. This should be a one-end game. I don't think there's really too much more to see here. That was just the process of an endgame getting converted. But in any case, that was an interesting game, fun, a little time pressure at the end there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.